A very warm good morning to one and all present here. My name is Nooria Siddiqui. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to another insightful session organized by the Department of English, I.E.H.E. Our department has always been committed to academic excellence, and today's session is another step towards it. Allow me to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for today's session, Miss Arundhati R. Dubey, a distinguished Ph.D. scholar at I.E.H.E. Bhopal and qualified MP SET in 2023 and NET in 2023. Her deep knowledge and passion for literature make her the perfect speaker for today's session on Elizabethan drama. We welcome you, ma'am.
Elizabethan drama, we are not going to cover the whole Elizabethan age because obviously it is very prolific time. So it has poetry, it has prose, it has precursor to novels. So that we won't be able to do justice within an hour. Also, Elizabethan drama, we will focus mostly on Christopher Marlowe. Thoda sa we will see university wits and then mainly Shakespeare. We will approach them through the point of view of PYQs so that we know how to study Shakespeare. Because I think in BA and MA we study Shakespeare very textually. We go deep into the characters and we go into the nuances of the themes. But such questions, I recently in last 5 years of my PYQ analysis, I did not find such questions on Shakespeare. So if we approach the subject through exam point of view, I think that would be a more successful way of going about it. Okay, so I have PYQs and many of you might have attempted them. You might already know the answers, but it will give us sort of an insight that what more we should study, what kind of questions are being asked. So before we see that how Elizabethan theatre established, which is like modern English theatre, how those conventions got established, let's see what were the conventions that were replaced. So I think medieval dramatic conventions kabhi thoda, I guess you guys might have an idea. Anyone wants to take a wild guess? Anyone who already knows what were the kind of plays, themes, structure? Anything you guys want to share? Please go ahead.
Ma'am, morality plays and mystery plays, all of these plays were conducted. And I think from what I remember from my UG studying of medieval plays, mostly it was like religious in nature in one way or the other, that they were trying to give us a message. So for example, in plays about saints, I think there were morality plays. They used to like teach us about the life of saints, okay, this is how you should live. तो पब्लिक का टेस्ट क्या है वो इतना ज्यादा मैटर नहीं करता था. The more concern was on the what the church wants you to basically show you, I think. Yes. And there were interludes in between the plays. So yes.
So you covered 4 of my slides very effectively. Okay. Yes. So that you summed it up very nicely. We will see keywords and key points. A little bit in depth. We'll see. But yes, it was perfect. So see, there were cycle plays, miracle plays, and passion plays. So why cycle plays? Because it was like a carnival. They were moving from town to town and also through the town. It was like a moving play. On either side of the road, there was audience and there was public. And as you said, the themes were religious, very didactic. So the motive of these plays was to instruct and to teach virtues and values. Why? Because they were being done by the church personals. So Catholicism was very deeply involved. Catholicism was involved in all the institutions of life back then, right? Then there were miracle plays, like you correctly pointed out. It was a life of the saints. So we were, the audience were given a message that we need to emulate their lives. We need to emulate their simplicity. Not ask for conveniences, public conveniences, or also because the society was feudal and they were peasants. So this was like a conditioning done to the peasants that like your simplicity and live your life like the saints live. And then there were passion plays where passion of the Christ and such anecdotes and all those biblical stories that we have listened to over and over again, like Goliath, David and Goliath, or Ruth and Naomi. So these stories were repeated. Why? Because it was about suffering and reaching God through suffering. That was glorified. That was eulogized. That revel in your suffering. Through suffering, you can reach God. You will be a true Christian. Okay, so these were the dramatic conventions, and why these conventions started getting replaced. Why this was getting outdated. That we will discuss. Abhi, let's talk about this PYQ. So which one of these is not the morality plays? 3 of them are morality plays. One of them is not. Which one is it? Yes. Why D? It's very easy.
I don't know about any of the plays, but with the title, all of them seem to be, the first three seem to be like thoda sa didactic, perseverance and mind, understanding and mankind. Whereas the fourth one sounds a bit like sort of a fun play, like something that maybe Shakespeare would write. So that was my guess.
Okay. Okay, but I will say it is very wild guess, because the City Heiress is a play by Afra Ben. Okay, so Afra Ben, we usually know Rover Orunoko, but we should also know her lesser known plays like The Forced Marriage, or The Dutch Lover, The Amorous Prince, and The City Heiress in the Instant Case. Okay, so we don't need to know the morality plays. We only need to know very properly the major authors and their lesser known works. Okay, I think that is the funda behind this particular question. So, but I also did some research on the above 3 options. So these 3 are very prominent morality plays which were found in the macro manuscript. So they together the collection makes the macro manuscript. So अगर ये भी question कभी आ जाए कि what is the macro manuscript, so we should know that this manuscript is about morality plays. Why is it known as macro? Because the manuscript of these 3 plays was found with Reverend Cox Macro. In 18th century, he was found in possession of these 3 plays. So uska naam pad gaya macro manuscript. It is preserved in the Folger Shakespeare Library and Bodleian Library. Do you guys know what is Folger Shakespeare Library and Bodleian Library? Any of you? Yeah, so they are very esteemed libraries. Folger Shakespeare Library, as the name suggests, it is situated in Washington, D.C. and it has a huge collection of repository of everything related to Shakespeare, and they keep on revising it, researching it. They also have a journal. So any of you who does research on Shakespeare, you can try to publish in their journals. So this is a big repository of USA, of Shakespeare. And Bodleian Library, we know that it's a library of Oxford University. So these are both esteemed libraries. We should know about them. So the manuscript is kept over there. And these 3 plays, and this was very recently asked. I think last 2 years ki question paper mein I found this. So this can be important. Okay. And City Heiress is a play by Afra Ben. We saw that. So Shobna, you talked about interludes. So see, interludes they were fillers, and they were comic in nature, which was contrary to the theme of the overall play. And the characters were ordinary people. The characters were not saints, or the characters were not the mystics, or very high clergy of the occult, as was in the mystery play. These were not the characters. They were normal human beings. And the themes were non-Christian, which then came to be known as secular. So anything that is non-Christian is secular. What was so fascinating about them was that it was like a little skit. So, a tiff between a husband and wife would be shown, or a tiff between a very satirical tiff between a feudal lord and the peasant would be shown. So people were able to sort of relate with it. Okay, and that is why they started gaining popularity. So then what happened? People started going to watch the whole morality play just for the sake of the interludes. And that is a people got to know that, okay, so interludes is what is interesting the audience. So interludes started getting extended in the time. So if initially it was for 2 minutes, then it started becoming for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So like that, it kind of stretched its boundaries, and it which was in the marginals. The interludes were in the marginals. They sort of started getting in the center, and the morality started getting at the margins. Okay, the theme of the play started getting into the margins. So this kind of happened very gradually. We might say over 50, 60 years. Okay, so then this is another. This is sort of a tough question. Tough, but it was asked very recently. Who among the following are the writers of secular prose in 14th century? John of Trevisa, Julian of Norwich, John Mandeville, Bernard of Clairvaux, or Walter Hilton. And these are all medieval authors, medieval writers. Yes, Adila, you're right. You're very right. So John of Trevisa was a disciple of John Wycliffe. Someone tell me about Wycliffe.
Ma'am, he was a chronicler, like he wrote history, if I'm not wrong. No? Or if I...
No. John Wycliffe is
He
synonymous.
translated the Bible? I no, that I'm confusing him with somebody else, sorry.
No. Okay.
I guess dictionary. He worked on the dictionary, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure.
No, that was Thomas Eliot. Thomas Eliot was an early Tudor writer who made a dictionary of Latin to Middle English words. That was Eliot, Thomas Eliot, okay? John Wycliffe, he's known as, his name is synonymous to Martin Luther King. Remember, he translated Vulgate Latin Bible into Middle English. So that the Bible came into the hands of the people. He is known as the evening star of scholasticism and morning star of Reformation in England. John Wycliffe is very important. Okay, make a note to study him thoroughly. So that is how we need to know John Trevisa, because John Trevisa worked very closely with John Wycliffe. John Wycliffe is a very important figure. These are the influences that established Reformation in England, that established the secular modern English theatre that we see today. Okay, so he's a very important figure. Look into him. And John Mandeville, he was a travelogue writer. So he is very earliest of the explorers who went around the whole world in the sea, and he came very close to the east boundaries of India and China. So maybe they want us to study it. I don't know, because all the other options, I researched Julian of Norwich, Bernard of Clairvaux, and Walter Hilton. They were theologians, they were mystics, they have written treatises on occult, Christian rituals. So I don't know why this question was asked. It's sort of a deep question. So if any of you who has an interest, you guys can look into it. So moving forward, now let's stop beating around the bush and now come to the Tudor period. So how did this drama come into being? How the shift from the cycle theatres, from the cyclical plays and miracle plays to a permanent settlement and proper established Elizabethan drama? So first and foremost was, of course, the Caxton printing press, because printing press was sensational in the sense that there was a lot of epistemological power at the hands of the church. You understand epistemological power, right? That's what Michel Foucault has talked about. That was the power of the knowledge. So all the old manuscripts and ancient scriptures, Greco-Roman scriptures, they were kept in the libraries of the church, and only the high clergy had access to them. So it was not in the hands of the masses. Knowledge was not in the hands of the masses. But when the printing press came, this printing technology came, it completely revolutionized. Now people were interested that what is paper, what is the written word, and that's how there was still rampant illiteracy in the masses, but the lords or you can say the merchants, traders, they started learning reading and writing, and that is how there was a revival of learning. because they had this easy thing, paper, which, book, which could be easily passed around. So we know that Martin Luther King was the one who kick-started Reformation. Okay, but how exactly did he do it? Does anyone know what was that incident? What did he do? What exactly Martin Luther King do? Anyone? Okay, so what he did was he wrote a 95-point argument. He wrote it like a thesis. It is known as 95 thesis, his document. So he wrote it, and in the Wittenberg University, we know that he was a scholar in the Wittenberg University. वहाँ का जो church था, on that door one fine day he went and pasted that document. And that is how he expressed his argument against the Catholic Church, their corrupt practices, especially their practice of redeeming the indulgences. So imagine if this technology was not there. Do you think that anyone would let him come to the Vatican, sit in front of the Pope, and do this 95-point question hour? Would anyone allow him that? No. But the technology of printing and book, this enabled him to express himself, and along with him, all the other scholars and all the other people who were into reading and writing. Yes, making sense?
Ma'am, what do you mean by redeeming of indulgences? Like you mentioned it recently. Like, is it a religious thing? Restraint?
Yes. Do you guys know there was very corrupt practices of pardoning? So there are 7 deadly sins in Christianity. You guys know that, right? Lust,
Yes.
greed, gluttony, hate, jealousy, and daily as human beings we daily undergo them. अब गुस्सा तो आता ही है, jealousy तो होता ही है. Okay, everyone has sexual desires. So people were always threatened that don't act upon your emotions. This was a sort of a control. We know that because we had come from the dark ages to middle ages, which was like intellectually it was no better. So वो एक तरीका था to govern. So what people would do, that they would sometimes let go of their emotions, and because it's very human to act on your emotions. So then they had this opportunity. It was a corrupt practice of the church. So church clergymen, they got to know कि हाँ ऐसा तो होता ही है, तो how we can make use, how we can use it to our benefit. So they would give a certificate. They would take money from people. Acha, to you did what? You did adultery, or you did gluttony. There was a feast and you overate, or you overdrank. You went into full-on carpe diem and Epicurean mode. So come to us next morning and we will redeem your indulgences. Indulgences, मतलब हम indulge कर रहे हैं, indulging. या फिर sometimes what would happen, that feudal lords, they would beat their peasants black and blue. Sometimes the peasants would die. तो अगर आप ऐसा कुछ कर देते हो in wrath, तो obviously you will be guilt stricken. So you can conveniently go to the clergy and redeem it. Now you're guilt free. You paid to the clergy and आप redeem हो गए आपके indulgences. That is the meaning of redeeming of indulgences, and especially Reformation happened because of this. That is the reason Reformation happened, because of pardoning. Chaucer also has a pardoning के बारे में Chaucer ने लिखा है, the pardoner. The people started getting very critical about it in the Middle Ages. ठीक है? And this technology of printing, this technology of paper, books, it enabled people to express themselves. That's how the Reformation came in Europe, and then it hit English society. ठीक है?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So English society, what happens is Reformation came in 1534, because we know that from 1455 to 1485 War of the Roses was going on. उसके पहले there was a 100-year war with France. So Reformation थोड़ा late आया English society में, but क्यों आया वो भी because the monarchy thought that I will use it to my benefit. So clerk and the Pope and the Vatican would interfere in day-to-day activities of the English court, English monarchy, their socio-political affairs. So they did not like that. They wanted full autonomy over their country. So one fine day, Henry VIII declared himself the head of the English church. So England में जितना भी church होगा, they will report to the king. Now they will not report to the Vatican City. They will not report to the Rome. So this is the act of supremacy of 1534. ये सब मैंने नहीं डाला, assuming that you guys know. If you don't, तो note it down. The act of supremacy 1534. ठीक है, and Reformation in Germany 1517. These are important dates. So Henry VIII से Reformation we usually say कि start हुआ, and how did that affect the art and culture? So whenever there are libertine values, whenever there are values of individuality, it needs a creative outlet. Because the times that we are living in, we think that our opinion matters. या फिर there is so much of intellectual turmoil within you that you want to express yourself. So that is how usually when people who are societies who are very liberated, they're also very cultural, they're very artistic, they're very creative. So that automatically happened in the society. And Henry VIII, he did what? He established Office of the Revels. Office of the Revels Henry VIII ने establish कर दिया. And this courtly dances, courtly dramas, उनके father Henry VII ने start किया था. ठीक है? So Office of the Revels, what they would do, they would schedule that, what masque or what madrigal or what drama would be played. So it was sort of organized. But still it was happening within the court. And outside the court, अभी भी morality plays चल रहे हैं. ठीक है, even after 1534, morality plays, cycle plays, they are still going on. We'll see how Elizabeth put an end to it. So when Elizabeth came to power in 1558, so 1558, she came to power. Okay, and what did she do? As soon as she came to power, she put an end to the cycle plays because it was not, going with a religious agenda. Her father wanted Protestantism, and she wanted to spread their vision of England, a Protestant England, an England free of Catholicism. So these cycle plays were not aligning with her religious agenda. So as soon as she came, she put an end to it, and further she brought a proper act in 1572, Anti-Vagrancy Act, और इसका बहुत ना लंबा सा नाम है, Anti-Vagrancy Act, Anti-Vagabond Act. Okay, of 1572. It juxtaposed vagrants with beggars. That if you will be traveling troops, if you will be traveling from town to town, you will be penalized. So that is how ये जो churches थे या lower clergymen थे who would propagate these plays, उनका तो वो खत्म हो गया business. Then she thought that I can spread the glory of my Tudor dynasty. She was a very proud Tudor. She ran this narrative of the golden era, that this is the golden era of England. Yeah, the Tudors are the salvation of English people. They have come to bring salvation to English people, and that I am the Virgin Queen and I have sacrificed my personal life for the greater good. So such narratives we can find in the plays of major dramaticians of this time. Okay, so first, because this touring thing khatam ho gaya, so first permanent theater was the Red Lion Theater in 1567. ठीक है, dates are important. I'll tell you how to remember the dates. We can remember the dates also. So for now, we will talk about this, and also important point to remember is that in 1593 and 1594 the theaters were closed down because there was a very bad plague, and many people in the church said that the players are the sinners. Because of these gatherings, the plague is spreading. So first and foremost, what they did was ban the theaters, so that the plague could be controlled in London. During this time, we know that Shakespeare had come into the playwright field in 1590, around 1590. First play Titus Andronicus, है ना? तो 1593-1594 में he wrote 2 long poems. Which are his 2 long poems? जल्दी से बता दो, because we are not discussing poetry today.
Venus and Adonis. and the other one I've forgotten. Cymbeline?
Lucrece. Venus and Adonis and Lucrece, yes. So, pre-Shakespearean plays. These plays also came during the Tudor times. F.S. Boas has given these 5 plays which are pre-Shakespearean plays. These are the plays themes on which the modern theatre is based. Okay, according to F.S. Boas. F.S. Boas is important. He's 19th century critic of Shakespeare and the Elizabethan times and literature. So I'll quickly read them out. Fulgens and Lucrece by Henry Medwell. It was an interlude, and then that interlude got extended into a full-fledged play by Henry Medwell. The Four Ps by John Haywood. It was a banqueting interlude, meaning it was played during banquets, balls, dinners, courtly dinners. Okay? Ralph Royster Doyster, we all know. It was the first English comedy, first English comic play. It was influenced by Plautus. So Plautus and Terence were the two Greco-Roman comic playwriters who highly influenced the Elizabethan theatre, along with Seneca. Seneca used to write revenge tragedies. So these 3 playwrights, Plautus, Terence, and Seneca, these were the influences. This is you guys already might have an idea about this. Okay, Grammar Girton's Needle, we don't know the author. And then Supposes is by George Gascoigne. George Gascoigne was a scholist of Tudor period, along with Thomas Eliot, Roger Ascham, Balthazar Gascoigne. उनके साथ ही जॉर्ज गैस्कॉइgne का भी नाम होता है. आप लोगों ने अर्ली ट्यूडर पीरियड पढ़ा है? एक क्लास है ना, आप लोग ट्यूडर ऑथर्स के ऊपर भी कर लीजिए, बिकॉज ऑल दिस रिवाइवल ऑफ लर्निंग एंड ऑल दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ना, these court scholars like Thomas Cromwell, Thomas More, Roger Ascham, who was the tutor of Queen Elizabeth, they studied and they brought a lot of Greco-Roman wisdom into English literature. So get a class on that, dedicated one. Then Gorboduc सबको पता है? Say yes. Gorboduc तो सबको पता है? Yes. So quickly, a question on Gorboduc. Very easy. So first regular English tragedy, Gorboduc, it contains 5 acts. The first 3 acts were written by Thomas Norton. Who wrote the next 2 acts? Tell me. Quickly tell me, anyone? Google and tell me.
Ma'am, Thomas Sackville.
Yes, Thomas Sackville, yes. So Gorboduc, Norton and Sackville. Remember that. Is it, are you guys, coming across them for the first time?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. So let's get down to the facts. So theatre company, first we will study Richard Burbage's theatre company. So it was known as James Burbage. Sorry, not Richard Burbage, James Burbage. Lord Chamberlain's Men. It was formed in 1594 and the patronage was Henry Carey. Okay? And later they also changed their names. We'll get to that. So their manager, Lord Chamberlain's Men, their manager was James Burbage, and he ran the playhouse. Richard Burbage was James Burbage's son, and he was the lead Shakespearean actor. So Shakespeare, he played the minor roles, and William Kemp, he was also a major actor who would play the clown characters, such as Bottom, Dogberry, Falstaff, and many other clown characters William Kemp used to play. Now, which all theatres did James Burbage build? So first one was the Blackfriars Theatre. It was an indoor theatre along with the Red Lion Theatre. So you remember these 2 theatres together. Blackfriars Theatre was an indoor theatre and then Red Lion Theatre. Okay. And but Red Lion Theatre was not built by James Burbage. We'll see who built that theatre. So Red Lion Theatre came in 1567. The theatre was the first permanent theatre, first proper theatre with that whole architecture of theatre. Proscenium was not there, but an elevated stage and everything with the curtains. So that kind of the theatre is the theatre, and it came in 1576. So Red Lion ka just ulta. So first theatre is Red Lion 1567, and the theatre is 1576. Okay, then there was curtain in 1577, and then there was some land dispute, because of which James Burbage had to let go of this theatre. Just land pe wo bana tha, the theatre. So what he did was he dismantled it and he used that material to make globe. Globe was like a Colosseum. Colosseum theatre, Rome ka Colosseum, which is a World Heritage Site and everyone goes as tourist there. So it modeled on that. It was an open air theatre. So it modeled on that Roman theatre. Okay, so the Globe came in 1599. Globe is very important, and which was the first play that was performed, Julius Caesar, and then Globe burned in 1613 during the performance of Henry VIII. So all these theatres are associated with James Burbage. James Burbage. Okay? So James Burbage ka playing company was known as Lord Chamberlain's Men. And then as the patronage changed, the name kept on changing. Then it became Lord Strangemen. And then in 1603, with the accession of James I, it came to be known as the King's Men. But it's the same playing troupe. So with this playing troupe, Shakespeare was associated. So Burbage, okay. Then another important theatre company was of Philip Henslowe. So Edward Allen was earlier associated with James Burbage and Lord Chamberlain's Men, but because of some differences, he split from them. Okay, and then he came and joined Philip Henslowe. So Philip Henslowe's traveling company was known as Lord Admiral's Men, after Charles Howard. He was the first Earl of Nottingham. So Lord Admiral's Men is also known as Nottingham's Men. Lord Nottingham's Men. They're also known as that. So all these facts, thoda sa mug karke we will have to remember. Then Philip Henslowe, he built the Rose. Rose was like a competition to the theatre. Okay, Rose was built in 1587. The theatre which James Burbage built. Which year did he build the theatre?
1576.
Yes. So then Rose also came in that same area, in that same bankside, because Thames. There is a river Thames, and then the city of London is divided into two parts. Also, these were the theatres of the West End. So the West End were conglomerative economy was there. Meaning the fairs and the festivals and the marketplaces, they were all coming up over there because there was theatre, because it was very celebratory place. So people would go, abhi ka hum mall samajh sakte hain na, because we can shop there, we can eat there, we can also go for some entertainment. So that was the West End. It was a developing of the West End, because now the West End is completely like revamped. So anyways, partnered, yes. So we have covered this, and university which were associated with Philip Henslowe and very closely Christopher Marlowe. So Rose was the 5th official theatre of London. It was on the West End, we covered that, and in 1592 it closed because owing to the Black Plague. 1592-93 it closed, and then it did not run for 10-12 years. It opened in 1603. Okay, when James the First came into power. So this question can also be asked, that when the Rose Theatre was reopened. So it was in 1603. Okay, so these are the other important theatres. There was a Swan Theatre, which was owned by Francis Langley. So in Swan Theatre, Isle of Dogs was played. Remember, Isle of Dogs was a very controversial play. We are not going to talk about Ben Jonson today because of the lack of time, but Ben Jonson is also a very important Elizabethan and Jacobean dramatist. So this happened, Isle of Dogs, it's screened in Swan by Lord Pembroke's men, and they, Ben Jonson and Thomas Nash came into some controversy. Thomas Nash was also incarcerated because of it. Okay, then there was Red Lion Theatre, then Fortune, then New Hope, then Curtain. Okay, now attempt this question. This is a very easy question. Who among the following is the proprietor of Rose Theatre, repaired it in 1592 and in 1595 and spent substantial sums on renovating and expanding the theatre? So who was the proprietor of Rose Theatre?
Is it Philip Henslow?
Yes, Philip Henslow. Philip Henslow, you're right. Okay, he built the Rose in 1587. Right? Who? Okay, we will come to that. Who built Red Lion in 1567?
Ma'am, C.
Yes, John Brain. Because James Burbage and Richard Burbage, they are associated with the theatre, they are associated with the Globe, right? They are associated with the Blackfriar Theatre, and Philip Henslow is associated with the Rose Theatre. So एक ही option बच गया, about whom we have not talked about, John Brain. So John Brain, he built the Red Lion Theatre in 1567, first permanent theatre. Okay, but that theatre was not a success. It was a failed attempt. It had lots of infrastructural problems. So first permanent theatre which was successful was the theatre. Okay, by James Burbage, which came in 1576. 67 का just उल्टा, 1576. So like this we can remember.
Ma'am, Philip Henslow was the proprietor of the Rose, but Edward Allen joined him, right? So Edward Allen was not the owner of the Rose. Philip Henslow was.
He was. So actors, major actors, and the playwrights, they were also co-owners. They were investors. They got some of profits. Like Shakespeare is not the official owner, but he was an investor. So from the theatre, from the Globe, Shakespeare earned a lot. Why did Shakespeare write so much? Now, because he was getting a profit share. Yeah?
Right.
So even Edward Allen, so you can say he was a co-owner, but not officially, unofficially. So major actors, जो थे Edward Allen, Philip Henslow, and the university wits, whoever would write the play, जो भी play लिख रहा था, ठीक है, they will get some amount of profit. उनका unofficial contract होता होगा. So historians have tried to find out official contracts. Official contract बहुत loose मिले हैं. एक official contract मिला है शेक्सपियर का. Okay, but as such किसी का कोई official contract नहीं मिला, but they would get the profit share.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. And they collectively called themselves Lord Admiral's Men, है ना? मतलब वो जो change of name था वो पूरे group के लिए था, ना?
Yes, because Henry Carey was their patron. So patron कहाँ का है उस पे depend करता है. अच्छा, wait. Now that you're talking about it, now let me go back. Okay. So Lord Admiral Men. It was named. It was not named after Charles Howard. Charles Howard was the Earl of Nottingham. Okay, and Charles Howard was a general in English army. So remember that Spanish Armada के ऊपर win हो गया था England का in 1588. Right? Do you guys have any idea?
Yes.
Yes, they were fighting with Spain because Henry VIII he waged a war on Spain also because he divorced Catherine of Aragon. She was a Spanish queen. Remember? So उनके साथ war चल रहा था. Queen Elizabeth के time पे war resolve हुआ in 1588. They won over the Spanish Armada. Charles Howard was an important figure in the war. He was a general. He was something in the army. So like this, these lords, they had some significance. They were very good aristocrats, estate managers, good trade supervisors. So like we can go as deep as we want to, frankly. But yeah, your question is very relevant. So like this, we can like thoda sa research that who was Lord Admiral, or who was Lord Chamberlain, or who was the Earl of Nottingham, like this. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So this we covered. Okay, now this question. Quickly, this is a very easy question. Name the play during which performance Globe Theatre burned down in 1613.
Ma'am, Henry VIII.
Ma'am, second.
Yes. All of you are right, Henry VIII. Now let's come to university wits. So university wits, the term, it's coined by George Sainsbury, and so they were predecessors of Shakespeare, because 10 years or 12 years before Shakespeare was very active and very prolific, they were already doing the drama. They were already staging it for the English audience. So this kind of experimented. They improvised the characters that would be more and more relatable. They perfected the plot, the diction. They worked with blank verses. They were the one who made the drama lyrical. They used blank verse in the language of important characters mostly. So the characters who were courtly, or the characters who were royal, those characters, their dialogues were in blank verse, and the clown characters or the minor characters, their language or their dialogues were in prose, so that for that difference, classism, that the language of the elite, to differentiate between that. So those kind of things they experimented with. They were the one who brought a modern theatre to life. Okay, and they were the liberal elites of their times. We'll see why they were liberal, why elite, because they went to the universities. Okay, no, you guys tell me, who went to Cambridge and who went to Oxford? First Cambridge. Who went to Cambridge? Who all went to Cambridge? Cambridge का एक वन नेम बता दो यूनिवर्सिटी विट्स में. Is it
Christopher Marlowe.
Yes, Christopher Marlowe. Then
Robert Greene.
Okay.
Thomas Nash.
Yes. So they went to Cambridge, the three of them. And Oxford?
John Lilly, George Peele, and Thomas Lodge.
Yes. And who did not go to either of the universities?
Thomas Kyde.
Yes, Thomas Kyde. Yes. So this we have covered. Okay. So how were their plays? So their plays were the one who displaced, from the saintly tales. So now they were talking about real characters, real working life characters who were non-feudal. Like see, John Lilly's Mother Bombay. So Mother Bombay has lots of working class characters who are very witty. They are the one who are driving the plot. They are the one who are conniving and who are making the children of the aristocrat dance to their tunes. So that sort of sensational the drama was. The power dynamics is shifting in this play. So Mother Bombay is it's like way ahead of its time play. And it was people liked it. It was running for a good amount of time. Okay, it was a funny comic kind of play. But this stark classification of what is comedy, what is tragedy, it came very late. It did not come even when Shakespeare was making plays. And then there was Robert Greene's Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. So इसमें भी होते हैं. We know who is Friar, right? Friar is a lower level clergy who lives among the masses, and he is from a mendicant order, means he survives on alms. जैसे भिक्षा हमारे यहाँ पे होते थे पहले, तो वैसे ही friars होते थे. They were supposed to survive on whatever the people give them, and they would live among the people and spread the virtues and Catholic values. So these were the friars. So, but in Robert Greene's Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay, what they do is they experiment with occult and magic, and there is a lot of supernatural element, and they disturb the life of this Prince Edward. They bring chaos, funny chaos to the life of the royalties. So these kind of plays are coming from the universities. These are university wits. And this very sensational thing, Precaro Rogue, which again picked up in the 19th century, rogue characters. So the characters who these Christian ideals से बहुत different characters. These characters were experimenting with atheism. They were experimenting with sexuality. Inklings of homosexuality was there. So वो जितना भी didacticism होता था moral values का Christianity में, very a huge shift from that. So such characters were being written, like Thomas Nash, Unfortunate Traveller. It's a novel. It's a prose romance novel. The word had not come. These are the precursors to novels. Okay, so he is going around Europe and his adventures. So he's experimenting his lifestyle. That sort of theme is there. And then Senecan tragedy. Why Senecan tragedy is important? Why is it important? Because in Christian tradition, you were not supposed to show so much of violence, bloodshed, or too much of emotion. You cannot show that. It has to be controlled. But then when actually the drama came, modern theater came, there was unabashed expressionism of emotions. So that Senecan convention, it came again. And there was lots of violence and lots of bloodshed, and people loved that. So two examples are George Peele's Battle of Alcazar and Thomas Kidd's Spanish Tragedy, which was like sensational. It was the backdrop is England's win over the Spanish Armada. Spanish Tragedy, you guys might have known. So it's a summary. Maybe you guys can see it is interesting. It's good play. And then there was this belief of divine right to rule. So that was getting challenged, that social mobility is possible, that you can reach to the top right from the bottom. You do not have to be, just born in royalty to deserve the throne. So such themes are being used in plays like Dr. Foster's, Tamburlaine. Tamburlaine is also a very good play. It is loosely based on Taimur. He was a like one can do tribal studies on Tamburlaine, because he belonged to a tribe, a Middle Eastern tribe. This guy, and he was lame, and then because of his ambition and because of his talents, he made it to the top. He became the Turkish emperor. But these are tragedies, Tamburlaine and Dr. Foster's. So there is a twist that, okay, maybe you can make it to the top, but do you have the skill set to survive it? Do you have that diplomacy? So there is always that question. And these are tragedies, and they have a hamartia. Does anyone know what is their hamartia? What is the common hamartia between Foster's and Tamburlaine? Both the plays are by Christopher Marlowe.
Ma'am, the pursuit of knowledge or ambition, maybe.
Ma'am,
yes.
Hubris?
Yes, that is the word. Yes. Excessive ambition, excessive pride and excessive self-worth, hubris. It's an hamartia which Aristotle talked about. Like maybe Macbeth, So then there is Decker's Shoemaker Holiday. It is considered Jacobean actually play. Shoemaker's Holiday. It is by Thomas Dekker. Then, yes. So pamphlets started coming up. So like we said that there was libertine values, there was individualism. So people, opinionated pamphlets started coming up. So they were, because obviously they were Cambridge and Oxford educated, so they would write their opinions. So these are some of those examples. And gave prose romance. It was an experiment. Like we can consider it novel, like John Lilly's Euphues Anatomy of Wit, Euphues and his England. Actually, it is Euphues and his England. Euphues England लिख दिया मैंने. So correct that. And then Pandosto, Menapan. So these are all important prose romances. You can say romance, because they are not tragedies. They are not even comedies that they would incite some laughter or hilarity. So romances. Okay. So who wrote Galatea, and who was Galatea?
Was it written by John Lilly?
Yes.
Yes, Pygmalion is a play by this. It is about a linguist. It's a modern play. I've forgotten the name of the writer.
Okay. It's by Shaw, but no.
Yes.
Yes, but it is based on a Greek myth, right? Pygmalion. What is the meaning of the word Pygmalion? Yes. So Pygmalion and Galatea. Anyone wants to take a wild guess? Anyone? किसी को पता है? Okay. So I'll tell you. So according to the Greek myth, Pygmalion was the one who was fed up with the women and their tantrums. So what he did was he made his own perfect women. He was a sculptor. He sculpted her, and then he asked Aphrodite to make that sculptor come to life. He fell in love with his own creation. That's what happened in Pygmalion by Shaw, right? That's exactly what happened.
Yes,
he fell in love with Eliza, the doctor. Okay, so Galatea is about an art form where you fall in love with your own art, your own product. You fall in love with it. ठीक है? So that's what so Galatea and Pygmalion, they come from Greek myth. So John Lilly wrote about Galatea. Galatea was performed at Greenwich Palace, Queen's Residential Palace. It was performed. Okay, and it was the only play by any university that made it to Queen's Residential Palace. So it's important. And it was performed before the Queen Elizabeth on this date. And it has, because it's from Greek myth, it had lots of Greek characters, supernatural characters like nymphs, gnomes, fairies. Very Greeky it is. So it was in the PYQ. It's very, very recent PYQ. So I gave a write-up about it. Okay, this question about Dr. Faustus. Any of you want to attempt this question? That which mythological character Faustus was compared to in the prologue of the Dr. Faustus? Percy. Yes.
Is the answer Icarus?
Yes, Icarus. Who was Icarus? Again from the Greek myth.
Like, I'm not sure, but was it a boy who had a wax wings and he melted because he went too close to the sun?
Yes, exactly. He was the son of Daedalus. His father warned him, don't go too close to the sun. But, excessive self-worth, he went too close to the sun and his wings melted and he had fatal ends. Exactly. So that's exactly how Faustus met his end. He went too close to knowledge, too close to his ambition, excessive ambition. This we have covered. Earl of Nottingham, theatrical company. Which of the following authors was attached to?
Marlowe?
Yes, Christopher Marlowe. Right? Lord Admiral Smith. Correct? Also known as Earl of Nottingham Smith. Okay. This is thoda sa interesting. So this is Anthony Burgess, postmodern author. So he has written 2 books on which of the following authors: Milton, Marlowe, Shelley, Keats. So out of these 4, on 2 authors, he has done the reworking of their biographical life. A and
Yes, ma'am.
Srijan is saying A and B, Milton and Marlowe. No, it is B and D. Okay, Milton and Keats. Sorry, Marlowe and Keats. So Marlowe पे he has written Dead Man in Deptford. Okay, it is reimagination of Marlowe's rebellious life. And on Keats he has written Abba Abba. Okay, I'll share the PDF so you guys read in detail this short description of both the novels. So it's written on Marlowe and Keats, B and D. Okay. Okay, this is on a quote. Who utters these lines in Hamlet? Something. Yes, tell me.
Horatio.
हाँ, मुझे भी होरेशियो ही लगा था. पता है, I got this question wrong when I was attempting NET. But it is not Horatio, it's Marcellus. ठीक है, they were एकदम starting में there were 4 there were 3 important characters who met Hamlet एकदम beginning में. So these were the guards of Elsinore Castle. They were talking about that what's going on, what is the latest gossip. The Duke of Denmark is dead. So they were Bernardo, Franciso, and Marcellus. So they ask about minor characters from the major tragedy, at least the 4 major tragedies and the early comedies. उनके minor characters पे थोड़ा सा ध्यान दीजिए. ठीक है, is what I want to say. So Marcellus, he was one of the guards. He this is like gossiping kind of is going on. Okay, so with this we will officially come to William Shakespeare. So William Shakespeare, very first folio was published in 1623. These are all the important points of the folio. The plays, they were combined by Henry Condell and John Hemmings. These were the co-actors of Shakespeare's company, Lord Chamberlain's men. These were they worked with James Burbage, Richard Burbage, William Kemp, Shakespeare. So Henry Condell, John Hemmings, they were colleagues. So they brought all his plays together, and in 1623 first folio edition they published. Okay, publisher was Edward Blount. So all these names, all these facts, they are important. We should know that. 36 plays were published. They loosely classified it as comedies, histories, and tragedies. But as the later, the critics like Edward Dowden or F.S. Boas, they found these classifications not up to the mark. So then this new classification of tragicomedy came for his later comedies, which were very mature. Okay, so initially they were classified as comedies, histories, and tragedies. Abhi this classification has not stayed the test of time. Then it had the prefatory poem by Ben Jonson. This is very important. To my beloved friend William Shakespeare. This I did not discuss. In this poem, he equated Shakespeare with Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and he called Marlowe's splendid diction as mighty lines. Marlowe's blank verse को mighty lines बोला था Ben Jonson ने in this poem, which was published in the first folio edition of Shakespeare's works in 1623. ठीक है? So related with that slide, the publication was dedicated to incomparable brethren, William and Philip Herbert, 2 very important plays, 2 Noble Kingsmen, and Pericles the Prince Tyre. The Tyre Prince, ऐसा कुछ नाम है ना उसका, Pericles का complete. So that was excluded from this folio edition. Then came a third edition in 1663. Second edition is not that important. Usually they talk about the third edition only, published by Philip Chetwynd, and it had 36 plays. 6 apocryphal plays means the plays they are lost, we don't have them. And many copies of this third edition has now become a rarity because many copies lost in the 1666 Great Fire of London. So this edition is also very rare. Very few copies are left. This could be a question. Which edition of Shakespeare's work is a rarity? So 1663 edition, third edition. Then a very important edition by Nicholas Rowe came in 18th century, 1709. We know that. After this, Samuel Johnson's edition came in 1765. Right? Do you guys have an idea about this? Have you guys read it? Make a note like this in a single page. Okay, Shakespeare's editions chronologically. So you can refer to these notes of mine. I have made this through my own personal notes. I hope it is beneficial to you guys. So let's come to history plays. See, इसमें कुछ नहीं है. It is fact mugging. There is no other way. We have to go over it again and again and revise, and that's how we will be able to remember. So history plays. So these are his history plays, and they are minor tetralogy and major tetralogy. So history plays are sourced from Holinshed's Chronicle. Holinshed, he was a historian, and critics believe that his histories have lots of fiction also. It is not a very validated historical document, but it claims to be history. So Holinshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland and Ireland, he has written about the kings, the royalty of those times. Okay, so from this he sourced his history plays. Who? Shakespeare. See, minor tetralogy is Henry the Fourth in 3 parts, Richard the Third. This is important. That what is minor tetralogy? What is major tetralogy? So minor tetralogy talks about the Wars of the Roses. Richard the Third is important. Who is Richard the Third? Anyone would like to take a shot at this question? Richard the Third is very important. The play of Shakespeare, Richard the Third, also was very sensational play. The character was very appealing character, very strong villainous character, a very charming, admiring villainous character, aspiring villainous character. Richard the Third. Do you guys know?
Brought the Wars of Roses to an end, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Who won over Richard III? Henry VII. He established Tudor dynasty. Grandfather of Queen Elizabeth I, Henry VII. Okay. 1485, Henry VII. He defeated Richard III in War of the Roses, and Tudor dynasty begins in 1485. And Tudor dynasty ends with Queen Elizabeth in 1603. Remember these dates, these timelines. It is also easier to learn and connect literature if we know historical timelines. Like wild calculative guess ही लेना पड़ता है. We cannot do so much of fact mugging, but these important facts we should know, which are easy also, maybe interesting. I like history, so.
Can you repeat? He was defeated by Henry VII. Did you say?
Yes, Henry VII. Who was Henry VII was father of Henry VIII and grandfather of Elizabeth II. Elizabeth I. Sorry, second pick. Okay. So remember that. And out of these history plays, who is the earliest king? In reality, I'm not talking about the chronology of the plays. Out of these minor, major tetralogy, other plays, all these kings का जिनका नाम लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे, who is the earliest of king about whom Shakespeare wrote about? Earliest king of England. पता है इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आया था.
Ma'am, a wild guess, King John.
Yes, yes, very good. Okay, I could not take that wild guess, but you did great. So King John, yes, it's King John. Okay. अरे यार, why did this happen? This was not supposed to happen. चलो ठीक है. Ignore this. My answer. So इनमें से देखो, बस they have only asked कि which play Shakespeare has not written. So Henry III, Richard III, Richard II, Henry V, and Richard V. So in that exam classroom, na, this question can be very intimidating. So do you guys know this? अभी उनको याद करना बहुत easy है, पता है historical plays को कि उसने कौन से लिखे. See, he wrote Richard II, Richard III. That's it. That's all he wrote. Okay. See in this. See, he wrote Richard II, Richard III. Then you start with Richard IV. So Richard IV he wrote, Richard VI he wrote Richard Henry IV he wrote, Henry VI he wrote, Henry V he wrote, Henry VII he did not write. He did not write Henry VII. He wrote Henry VIII. So the king who defeated Richard III, Henry VII, he did not write about that. Okay, like this we can remember, and then we can come to this answer, that it's A and E. So A and E he did not write. So Henry III he did not write, and Richard V he did not write. He started with Henry IV. So Henry IV, 5th, 6th, 7th did not write. Henry VIII पे खत्म हो जाता है. ठीक है, and Richard के only 2, Richard II and Richard III. ठीक है, is it making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then another play, King John, of the earliest English king, King John. Then Roman plays. These are the 4 Roman plays, and they are based on Thomas North's translation of Plutarch's Parallel Lives. Plutarch ने लिखा था Parallel Lives of the Roman Kings. Plutarch का documentation था, उसको translate किया in English Thomas North ने. ठीक है, Plutarch का original था Parallel Lives, meaning the lives of the kings, royal lives. It was translated by Thomas North, and then from Thomas North's translation, Shakespeare took inspiration. He read them, he made the plots. He got to know biographically what happened, and then he created the whole play, Shakespeare. Okay, so these are important Roman plays also. So history plays भी हम easily याद कर सकते हैं, and Roman plays भी हम easily याद कर सकते हैं. Because Roman plays, they are only 4: Titus Andronicus, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, and Coriolanus. Okay. ये तो I guess you might even know this Roman plays because we study Julius Caesar ना. So Shakespeare's collaborations भी ज़्यादा नहीं हैं. Shakespeare's collaborations are with John Fletcher, George Peele, George Wilkins. ठीक है, so you guys can look into it. You guys can try to remember. अच्छा, listen, I have made a mistake. So Titus Andronicus is 1590. Okay, it is right. It is one of his earliest plays, Shakespeare. यहाँ पे I wrote 1593. तो maybe this is not wrong. 1590 ही हमेशा आप लोग याद रखते हैं. 1590 is correct. But these plays were performed over and over and over again. तो बहुत ज़्यादा we don't have clarity. But loosely it is always 1590. I'll correct it and give you all these silly mistakes. This is not 1593. 1590 only. ठीक है, अर्लीस्ट ऑफ शेक्सपियर्स प्ले इज अ रोमन प्ले, टाइटस एंड्रोनिकस. इसके बाद टेमिंग ऑफ द श्रू आया था. सो दिस अर्लीस्ट ऑफ शेक्सपियर प्ले इज अ कोलैबोरेशन बाय जॉर्ज पील. लाइक दिस ट्राई टू रिमेंबर द फैक्ट्स. सो देन अगेन दीज आर his major plays that we read, we study, we closely study the characters. These are his plays. Okay. This anyone wants to attempt, it's very easy. You guys must attempt it. So इसके options मैंने नहीं दिया है ना, तो I will ask you, tell me, when did Hamlet come?
It was either 1600 or 1601.
हाँ, usually we study 1601 is correct. इन्होंने पता नहीं क्यों option में नहीं दिया, तो we will go with 1600. ठीक है? And then which was the first play that was performed in Globe Theatre? In which year?
Julius Caesar, 1599.
Yes. So हमारे दो options solve हो गए. And then?
Ma'am, Macbeth, 1606.
Yes. The only one left is Othello, 1604. They have not given the 4 tragedies. उसमें बीच में उन्होंने एक Roman play डाल दिया है, Julius Caesar. Okay, so these are the 4 tragedies. Hamlet we usually study 1601. You were right. Othello 1602, 03. King Lear 1604 and Macbeth 1606. ये तो हम लोग को याद भी है शायद, है ना? This is easy. We study all the tragedies ना closely. This looks difficult, but it is very easy. It looks difficult, but then once you get to know ना कि ऐसे segregate कर लो Roman plays, history plays, collaboration plays, and then Shakespeare के early comedies, mature comedies and the great tragedies तो याद होता ही हमको. तो फिर they will not ask you ना early comedies का, they will not ask you the year ever. बहुत loose भी है वो. It is a very long past history. So they will ask chronology only. And in a question like this, it becomes very easy. You know, in examination, I took a wild, calculated guess and वो सही हो गया. In fact, ये question है भी easy. इसमें कोई guess लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. Once you study Shakespeare, see.
Ma'am, you said that Taming of the Shrew came after Titus Andronicus, so it has to be like one of the early plays. I think either B or like either 2 or 4.
Yes, very good. Yes, that's true. And Winter's Tale was one of his last plays. You know, even after Tempest, Winter's Tale, Coriolanus, तो last में E आएगा. तो B, starting with B and ending with E, एक ही option है, option number 4. Even otherwise, you know, थोड़ा सा याद कर लो, like Shakespeare की early comedies, Taming of the Shrew, Love's Labour's Lost, Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, तो ये हमने early पे डाल दिया. Even Much Ado About Nothing भी है उसमें. Hero जिसमें बहुत problematic feminine character है. Hero is in Much Ado About Nothing ना? Anyone knows? Yeah, I think so. So these are his early comedies. Okay, with very flat characters, problematic themes. उसके बाद came his थोड़ी better plays, better comedies like Merchant of Venice, which had some, you know, depth. Then Romeo and Juliet, and Twelfth Night is also later play है. Twelfth Night and Coriolanus, Winter's Tale, Tempest are very late plays. Winter's Tale is based on which work by one of the university wits? Shakespeare also took a lot of inspiration from university wits. Needless to say that. So tell me, Winter's Tale is based on what? By whom? One of the university wits.
Ma'am, is it Green?
Yes. Pendosto. Right? Pendosto by Green. Winter's Tale. ठीक है? So ये थोड़ा सा आप लोग याद कर लेना, please. So answer is 4. I thought that we will discuss this, but we don't have time. Some important quotes I had written, nice good quotes that I liked, but ठीक है. Because there is this question of the quotes. Do you guys want to attempt it? It might be interesting. हम थीम से quotes relate कर सकते हैं. It is easy question. Very recently also asked. In 2023, yeah. Is it visible? अच्छा, we will go.
Yes, ma'am.
Go about it one by one. So come what come may, time and the hour runs through the roughest day. this is said by whom in which of his tragedies? Iski main
From
tragedy.
Macbeth.
Yes, Macbeth. And in what context does he say this? So after the witch's prophecy, na, he is very anxious. So he to calm himself down, he said, "ठीक है, जो होगा सो होगा." Time, मतलब even the roughest day निकल ही जाता है. Okay, so it's in the beginning only, Macbeth में. Then when sorrows come, they come not single spies but in battalions. This is also easy, very easy quote. Who said
Hamlet.
it? हाँ, ये Hamlet में who said it?
Claudius, I guess.
Yes, you're right, Claudius. Yes, I am a man more sinned against than sinning. This is also easy.
Othello.
No. King Lear says that when he is being betrayed by his elder daughters, उसने बोला जितना मैंने बुरा किया उससे ज्यादा मेरे साथ बुरा हो रहा है. I am a man more sinned against. I am sinned against than I have sinned. King Lear. ठीक है? After he is being betrayed by Goneril and Regan. ठीक है, तो मतलब also I guess Abhi you said you matched it with King Lear, but after you read the last option na, you wouldn't have, because see the last option is also very clear. But I will wear my heart upon my sleeve for dogs to peck at. I am not what I am. I am not what I am. ये कौन बोलता है?
I don't remember the name, but I guess the villain says it in the end.
हाँ, Iago says this na in Othello. He says that I am not what I am. We know Iago through this catchphrase, that what I am appearing, I am not that, right? So Iago, so this quote will match with Othello. ठीक है? So बहुत अच्छे से do the summaries, the great tragedies, of the 4 tragedies. And when you read detailed summary from a trusted source, so go through all these important quotes also. Now these questions are being asked. Reworkings of Shakespeare in different theatres, Shakespeare in novels. These questions are very much on the focus. If you guys, you guys attempt the NET and you guys do PYQ analysis, है ना? So they have asked that William Shakespeare's which play was translated by Bengali playwright and director Girish Chandra Ghosh. Girish Chandra Ghosh, he is known as the father of Bengali Renaissance theatre, pre-independence theatre. Girish Chandra Ghosh ने बहुत सारे spiritual plays लिखे हैं. He is a very important name in Bengali theatre. ठीक है? तो he has translated Macbeth. Is translated and directed Macbeth for Indian plays. In this context, these are some of the important playwrights and directors and Indian translators जिन्होंने शेक्सपियर को इंडियन थिएटर में रिप्रेजेंट किया है. And these are all important names. Like Girish Chandra Ghosh is father of Bengali theatre, who is the father of Hindi theatre, Bhartendu Harish Chandra. ठीक है, भारतेंदु हरिश्चंद्र इज नोन फॉर, एनीवन नोस, बहुत ही कैची इंपॉर्टेंट DD1 पे. अब योर जनरेशन डू नॉट वॉच DD1 मच, बट आई यूज्ड टू वॉच इट. सो DD1 पे उसका बहुत रीरन आता था उनके प्ले का. इट वाज अ वेरी फनी कॉमिक सटायरिकल प्ले, वेरी डीप प्ले, बट वेरी हिलेरियस. एनीवन नोस भारतेंदु हरिश्चंद्र इज नोन फॉर? अंधेर नगरी सुना है? अंधेर नगरी, चौपट राजा.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, तो उसका प्ले रीरन भी बहुत होता है. पता लास्ट ईयर भारत भवन पे हुआ था. आई अटेंडेड दैट. सो मतलब बहुत रीरन होता है उनका प्ले का. सो इट्स लाइक अंधेर नगरी, चौपट राजा, सवा शेर भाजी, सवा शेर खाजा. Meaning the price of everything is same and there is value for nothing. It is like that Melon City of Vikram Seth. Vikram Seth की पोएम पढ़ते ना हम लोग, मेलन सिटी, उसके जैसा है. सो दे आर इम्पोर्टेंट. अब इतना इतना एब्स्ट्रैक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया उन लोगों ने कि बंगाली थिएटर में किसने शेक्सपियर को ट्रांसलेट किया था, तो हिंदी थिएटर तो हमको पता ही होना चाहिए, है ना. एंड हरिवंश राय बच्चन ने ट्रांसलेट किया है शेक्सपियर की 4 ग्रेट ट्रेजेडीज. यू नो, आई एक्चुअली मेड these notes after I came across this question. So please read PYQs. So that's why I said through PYQs we should approach Shakespeare. कि PYQ में क्या पूछते हैं. So these are, you know, my personal notes that I made in 2022. Okay, I'm sharing with you guys. And in Marathi cinema, Marathi theater, V.V. Shirvadkar is also a seminal figure. He has adopted King Lear as Nata Samrat and Macbeth as Raj Mukut. Nana Jog is also a very important figure in Marathi theater. And these are the names on whom people are researching. So these names are coming up in the central universities. So they will ask these questions. And even if they don't, we should, as scholars, maybe have a little idea. It's not always possible to remember everything, but, you know, keep it in your notes. Okay, now, yes, Anton Chekhov तो हम लोग सभी पढ़ते हैं, Anton Chekhov, and हम लोग Cherry Orchard पढ़ते हैं. I studied Cherry Orchard in I.E.H.E. Mostly his themes are also very similar to, University Wits के theme, Marlowe के theme. It's about ambition, unfulfilled ambitions, ambitious people, you know, who do not get the right outlet, they do not get the right validation, artists, people who want to get out of their small towns, like in Three Sisters. There are 3 sisters, they want to get out of their small town drudgery, but ho nahi pata hai. It is about the holistic social environment which restricts creative outlets, you know, which very subversive social environment he talks about, in a very romantic way, that too. But when you end the play, you know, can't help but just take a, you know, huge sigh that, oh, phew, that kind of plays he writes.
D.
Yes, D. Uncle Vanya. And one more. The Seagull. Don't go by the options. इन्होंने options गलत दिए हैं. This question was dropped. ठीक है? So the right option is D and E. But D and E कहीं है ही नहीं option में in collaboration. So D and E is none of the options. So the question was dropped. But the right option is Uncle Vanya and the Seagull. So modern reworkings of Hamlet. स्क्रीन अडेप्टेशन ऑफ हैमलेट अगेन इंडिया में जितनी भी बनी है वो आई थिंक मकबूल हैदर है ना, ये सब. एंड देन देयर वाज अनदर बंगाली ऋतुपर्णा घोष, यू नो, शी इज अ बंगाली डायरेक्टर. शी मेड लियर स्टारिंग अमिताभ बच्चन. सो ये मूवीज देख लो, लाइक फॉर यू नो फन रन, तो वी शुड वॉच द मूवीज. सो दीज कुड बी स्कोरिंग क्वेश्चंस इन एज सच. दोदनी चाल भी एक पुरानी मूवी है. Boy from Cyprus is it's an old 60s की movie. But this question can be approached in another way. Without knowing the screen adaptations of Shakespeare, we can approach this question. So which of these is not a screen adaptation? Love in a Wood. Love in a Wood. Are you guys writing?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, why did you choose Love in a Wood?
Because you said not, so I think Love in a Wood might be some pastoral comedy, so like maybe 12th Night or something. That's again a very wide.
Yeah.
Because comedy of errors की बात हो रही है ना, but पता नहीं, I'm not sure.
I also thought the same, but reason थोड़ा सा different है. It's a play by William Wycherley, one of the restoration writers, the 4 restoration writers.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, neither did I when I attempted this question. These were the questions that I faced during, you know, my tenure of taking NET. So I thought that. Anyways, I have shared last 5 years PYQ only. बहुत पुराने मैंने share नहीं किए. Okay. So who among the following again? Okay, this is again another, you know, post-modern adaptation के ऊपर है ये King Lear के. So who out of these playwrights has done post-modern adaptation of Lear?
I'm third option, maybe. A wild guess.
Stephen Berkoff. Okay, it is Edward Bond. Edward Bond. Do you guys know Edward Bond? He's known for Bingo. Okay, Bingo is biographical play, reimagination of Shakespeare's life. Bingo. He's known for Bingo. He has done a sort of a study on Shakespeare. He does reenactments, reimaginations of his plays, and his life is done. Shakespeare's life is reenacted in the play Bingo. Acha, theek hai. I have not included this, but you guys know they asked Tom Stoppard, right? So tell me which movie did Tom Stoppard write based on Shakespeare's biographical reimagination? Very famous movie. Academy winning movie hai yaar, I think. I think Stoppard won Academy for the screenplay. Love in Shakespeare. Shakespeare in Love. Okay? So, screenplays by Harold Pinter, Ruth Prabhawala, and Tom Stoppard. Go through that also. So, this next question. So, which of the following plays is a parody of Shakespeare's Macbeth and in some parts Hamlet and King Lear? Which of these plays? Is it the Pygmalion? Is it Luigi Pirandello's Bella Vita? Is it Strindberg's The Dance of Death? Or is it Alfred Jarry's Ubu Roy?
Ma'am, maybe Ubu Roy. I'm not sure, but I think Ubu Roy. Is it?
Yes. You're right. It's Ubu Roy. Correct. By Alfred Jarry. So these are some postmodern retellings of Shakespeare. Okay, from very, very important authors only I have included. So again, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. It's a comic retake of the minor characters from Hamlet. Who are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet? Quick revision.
I'm childhood friends of Hamlet.
Not childhood friends. They were from his university. Who invited them to the castle of Denmark?
Claudius?
Yes. Claudius invited them. Hamlet को समझाने के लिए, because Hamlet was going all over the place, very berserk. He was acting. So instead, they enacted a play. Instead, Hamlet used them to catch the perpetrator. So they enacted a play. What was that play which they prepared? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. The name of that play in Hamlet. Hamlet is play within play plot. No? So what is the name of that play?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it is The Murder of Gonzalo or the Mousetraps.
Okay,
So
thank you.
याद कर लेना, ठीक है? So properly see the summary of great tragedies. Then Amy Césaire. Amy Césaire is also an important name. He has written one tempest, like un tempot. It's a French word. Un tempot means one tempest. एक तरीके का tempest. ऐसा कुछ उसका meaning है title का. So Amy Césaire. How do we know Amy Césaire? Amy Césaire is very, very important figure.
He's a post-colonial writer.
Post-colonial studies, and he coined the term negritude, and he was associated with the 60s and 70s का French black intellectual movement. Okay, जिसका part थोड़ा सा Roland Barthes भी था, because France had colonies in Africa. They were asking for liberation. French black intellectual movement हुआ था. The blacks in France were asking for greater representation, fighting against racial segregation. Right? Algeria was France की colony. So 60s, 70s का that socio-political event hai, movement hai, which gets reflected in literature, and we studied negritude. He coined the term negritude along with Leopold Senghor. You guys might have studied it. आप लोग पढ़ लोगे लिटरेरी थ्योरी में. And Aimé Césaire was also a president. He was a president of Martinique. Former president रह चुके हैं ये मार्टिनिक के. It's a small island that comes under French jurisdiction. So such people are very important ना. They become important. So अब उन्होंने शेक्सपियर का retelling कर दिया है, तो they might ask un tempoth. Then there is Iris Murdoch. We know Iris Murdoch, Margaret Atwood. Jane Smiley might be a new name. It was a new name for me. Then John Updike. We know John Updike from Rabbit Run series. Very post-colonial work. Howard Jacobson is a new name. Ian McEwan we know. How do we know Ian McEwan?
Atonement.
हाँ, Atonement. चलो सबने देखी है मतलब Atonement. But what is his Booker Prize winning novel? Ian McEwan की?
I know an Ian McEwan, but I don't know if they're the same. They write about South Asia. Oh, sorry, South Africa. No, they're not the same.
No, he's Canadian.
Okay, I'm confusing him with somebody else. Sorry.
And he has written Amsterdam. Amsterdam is it's a dilemmatic novel about euthanasia. And Amsterdam won Booker Prize. And so Ian McEwan is Booker Prize awardee, and Atonement obviously became very popular in America. And Nutshell is also अच्छा Nutshell किसका reworking है? कौन से शेक्सपियर के प्ले का reworking है? हैमलेट का. इसमें पता है हैमलेट इज इनसाइड द वूम ऑफ गर्ट्रूड, एंड ही इज watching her. He's watching her adultery. He's watching her conniving against his own father. He's watching her, getting engaged with her brother-in-law. So Hamlet had suicidal dilemma. Now, Hamlet in nutshell, he has the dilemma whether to, come to life or not in the first place. So very sensational novel. Then Gertrude is, she is being slandered in almost all the works by Shakespeare and even the reworkings. But Margaret Atwood wrote Gertrude Talks Back. It's a short story. So she, from Gertrude point of view, she tells it what were her intentions, why she did that, or we get a perspective into the Gertrude's mind and psyche. So psychological point of view से ये सब चीजें important होती है, but all of these are important only. And when we study these authors in modern and postmodern age, तो उनके अव्यवर में ये आते हैं, very prominent names these are. So you can look into it and make your own notes. And the last one, We Are That Young by Preeti Taneja. We Are That Young is reworking of King Lear. King Lear का reworking है. ठीक है, so she is an of Indian origin, and this novel has caught eyes of the critics and the audience. So they might ask, it's also important. Other than that, Shakespeare का reworking जो है restoration times से हो रहा है, from the right next century. 17th century से ये सब हमको usually पता है. Dryden के reworking, विलियम देवनंत का reworking, नाहन टेट का comic reworking of King Lear, which became more famous than the original King Lear. You guys can read, right? On the slide, I'm talking about the restoration Shakespeare.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was David Garrick? New name. Who was David Garrick? So Samuel Johnson's circle of friends. He was a prominent. Playwright, actor, and he was the owner of Drury Lane Theatre. So what Edward Ellen and what James Burbage were to the Elizabethan theatre, David Garrick was that, same kind of personality to the 18th century theatre. Drury Lane, he's associated with Drury Lane. Okay, very prominent actor, and he was the owner of Drury Lane. Okay, so Catherine and Petruchio is reworking of, who was Catherine? Taming of the Shrew. She was the shrew. ठीक है. अब देखो ये तो क्वेश्चन आएगा कि which of these was in Samuel Johnson's circle of friends. Very expected question. So David Garrick in that sense becomes very important. David Garrick is an important figure of English literature of the 18th century. ठीक है? So see his works. Then 19th century reworkings भी शायद आप लोगों को पता होंगे, है ना? Charles and Mary Lamb, they wrote tales from Shakespeare. So these numbers are important. They will ask कितने stories का reworking किया था, तो 20 stories का किया था. Then what is the meaning of Baudelarized Shakespeare? It means censored Shakespeare or appropriated Shakespeare. So the language was euphemized and all the disturbing scenes were removed by Thomas and Henrietta Baudelaire. And this word has become synonymous, Baudelarized. It means to Baudelarize something means to censor it, to edit it, to make it appropriate for family audience. ठीक है? UG13 kind of. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is by Tom Stoppard. But Rosencrantz and Guildenstern is by W.S. Gilbert. W.S. Gilbert is also important. He was a libretto. He has done operatic reworking of which work of Charles Dickens? Great Expectations. He has made operatic reworkings. He was an opera conductor. He was also a playwright. He also used to write screenplay. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, that appeared in Film magazine. Just once let's go through this slide. All this must be very familiar to you. Lectures on Shakespeare is by Coleridge. On Shakespearean Tragedies is by Charles Lamb. Characters of Shakespeare is by William Hazlitt. On Knocking at the Gate of Macbeth by Thomas De Quincey. We know De Quincey because of his work Confessions of an Opium Eater, right? So and we know Edward Dowden because he classified Shakespeare's works into what was it? In the World, Out of the Depths, On the Heights, है ना? ऐसे क्लासिफाई किया था उसने शेक्सपियर के वर्क्स को. And F.S. Boas is very important. Shakespeare's problem plays, and then in the beginning we saw that F.S. Boas also came up with pre-Shakespearean plays. So ये question भी आ सकता है. Which of these is not a pre-Shakespearean play by F.S. Boas as classified by F.S. Boas? मतलब देखना आएगा ही, और मोस्टली ना इन्हीं चीजों के अराउंड वो क्वेश्चंस बनाते हैं. Okay, so who is among these? Okay, who is known as the father of modern Shakespearean criticism? Modern means after 19th century. इनमें से कौन जाना जाता है as father?
Coleridge.
Yes, Coleridge. You're right. Coleridge. Very good. Webster I had added because Chaturvedi sir asked me to. Webster छोटा सा है. Okay, he belongs to the Jacobean times, and he's very famously known for the White Devil and Duchess of Malfi. Duchess of Malfi has recently become very important. They will ask question from Duchess of Malfi. I'm telling you. Why I'll tell you. See, and ये जो authors है ना, Webster, Dekker, Middleton, Rowley, Marston, इनको isolation में नहीं पढ़ सकते. Because इनका जो पूरा मोस्टली ऑब्योर है ना, वो वॉर ऑफ द थिएटर्स का है. सो वन प्ले हैज लेड टू द रिएक्शन टू द अदर प्ले, एंड लाइकवाइज. सो वॉर ऑफ द थिएटर्स को मैंने 2 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड किया है. ठीक, ओके, दिस एंड दिस. सो इनिशियली वॉर ऑफ द थिएटर्स में जो टिफ चल रहा है उसमें बेन जॉनसन, मार्स्टन एंड डेकर आर इन्वॉल्व्ड. ठीक है, दे आर फाइटिंग अगेंस्ट ईच अदर. हु? बेन जॉनसन, मार्स्टन एंड डेकर. ठीक है, एंड देन जो नेक्स्ट फेज होता है वॉर ऑफ द थिएटर्स का, उसमें दे कोलैबोरेटेड. ओके, सी ये मिडिल में ईस्टवर्ड हो में जॉनसन, मार्स्टन, चैपमैन. चलो ठीक है, नॉट डेकर. जॉनसन, मार्स्टन, चैपमैन, दे कोलैबोरेटेड एंड देन दे फॉट अगेंस्ट डेकर एंड वेबस्टर. ठीक है, सो डेकर एंड वेबस्टर का वेस्टवर्ड हो, इट लेड टू द रिएक्शन ऑफ ईस्टवर्ड हो, विच अगेन लेड टू द रिएक्शन ऑफ नॉर्थवर्ड हो. थोड़ा रिपीट कर लेंगे तो हमको याद आ जाएगा, इफ वी कीप रिपीटिंग एंड कीप रिवाइजिंग. ओके. एंड डचेस ऑफ माल्फी, किसी ने पढ़ा है डचेस ऑफ माल्फी जॉन वेबस्टर का? It's a very macabre and violent and immoral and unethical play. So उसको हम लोग एमपी में तो नहीं पढ़ते हैं, but it is prescribed in central universities, Duchess of Malfi. For its lots of postmodern nuances, it has postmodern significance in feminist studies, psyche studies, people as victims of societal norms. उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में डचेस ऑफ माल्फी पढ़ा जाता है. प्रीमियर फेसे इट इज वेरी अनएथिकल प्ले, वेरी गोरी, बट वी शुड नो अबाउट इट. ठीक है. अभी रिसेंटली उसका रीरन चल रहा है इन ब्रिटिश थिएटर्स, एंड अवार्ड विनिंग एक्टर एंड एक्ट्रेसेस ऑफ इंग्लिश सिनेमा आर एक्टिंग इन डचेस ऑफ माल्फी. डू यू नो जोडी विटेकर? You guys might or might not know. So she is acting as Duchess of Malfi. So it is coming back. It is coming back to the stage, to theaters with its reruns and reworkings. Okay, Louis Theobald ने उनका एक reworking किया है in 1733 as Fatal Secret, where it's a positive reworking where the Duchess does not die at the end. ठीक है. So it is based on an Italian novella. It is taken from William Painter's Palace of Pleasure. William Painter's Palace of Pleasure एक document आया था. In that it had 60 tales. So उन 60 tales में से one tale was about the Duchess of Malfi, Giovanna de Aragano. उनके real life के ऊपर based है Duchess of Malfi. ठीक है. So with this we sum up.